The truth is $1,100 for Tesla by the middle, I'm sorry, by July of 2027, 2 years from now, when the stock is sitting at 300 and change, 321 today. I mean, that's over 3x in 2 years. That's a really, really good deal. Most of us would be perfectly thrilled and happy to see that happen. I think it's going to be better than that. But AJ, probably among the community, the most respected stock analyst that we have, someone who does tremendously deep dives, does the homework, does the making the phone calls around the world, even to his contacts and his connections that he's made over the last 30 years in investment as a bank analyst. He does some really good and deep work. Well, I listened to 3+ hours of AJ detailing his projections for Tesla so that you wouldn't have to. I have huge amounts of respect for his abilities and pay a lot of attention to his ways of thinking. However, I do part company on this particular day. He got a lot right, tons right, and I'll go through that list. But I also think he got tons wrong, and I'll go through that list. So I am inclined, my method, if you haven't heard this before, my method is to believe Elon and the executives at Tesla as my very best source for predicting Tesla's future. I also believe, because I already did believe, but Elon Musk is maybe even a bigger believer that Cathie Wood and ARK Invest have done the best job of analyzing the entire robotaxi cyber cab opportunity. And she's got her estimates of what she thinks is going to happen as a result, which I believe includes $2,700 stock price by the end of 2029. Now that has been changing around a little bit. We should probably revisit that in the weeks ahead and see where she is now. But that's her stock price. AJ does comment over and over during his admirable presentation that he's being conservative or not necessarily believing the huge numbers that are predicted. And of course, that's what you would expect out of somebody who does analysis or does company analysis for banks. Don't get me wrong. AJ and I are really only talking about the timing, not the eventual results. Pretty much product after product after product. We kind of have the same idea of where things are going. He just thinks it's going to take longer to get there. He is roughly giving a price target on Tesla of 310 to 380 over the next 12 months. Now, I think that's ridiculous. Obviously, I think that's ridiculous. I think it'll be 1,000 by the end of the year. I think that it's going to be all-time high of 488 within weeks, or at least within a couple of months before we get to that $1,000 valuation by the end of the year. Now, that is because I believe that the rollout on robotaxi is going to be so good, so fast, that eventually the street is going to go, oh my gosh, we have to get ahead of this. And they're going to be willing to pay a higher premium for the stock in order to take advantage of that future, because there is no future. There's nothing in the world. There's not a single product, not a single service, not a single company offering anything that has as great a potential earnings opportunity as robotaxi. And that doesn't count Optimus. So he thinks 310 to 380 over the next 12 months. Okay. Then he's got, for the next 12 months after that, 500 to 700. So he's looking at July of 2027 as a $700 price target. So that's his next level. And then finally, he does get us to $850 to $1,100 in July of 2028. I hope I've got all that right. Yes, okay. So 1,100 by July of 2028. Now, again, I think I started off wrong in the very beginning, saying we'd all be happy with 1,100 by 2027, and we would be happier with 2027 than 2028. But even 3 times by 2028 would be good. That would be triple over 3 years, 100%. It's not exactly 100% per year, but you get my drift. 3x in 3 years. Anybody want to buy that stock? Well, of course, my projection for $1,000 in July of 2026, I think the $1,000 that I'm projecting for the end of this year is about the same as it's going to be in July of 2026. But I do believe by the end of next year, going into 2027, and certainly by the middle of 2027, we're going to be at 2,000. And then by 2028, we're going to be looking at 3,000. So that's a pretty big difference. Now, the huge difference is timing. And this is kind of how it works out. Let's go down the numbers here. These are the things that he and I do not agree on. I'm going to do the do nots first, and then I'll tell you the things that we do agree on. He doesn't see energy storage expanding beyond the 3 existing factories. I think that's wrong. I think we're going to have lots more factories. I think we will probably have, I think one of the next places might be a factory in Europe. We might see an expansion in the United States or in China. We might see one in India or in Indonesia, but there's going to be an expansion of these energy storage facilities. I'm not sure why AJ doesn't think they're going to continue to expand, but they are going to continue to expand. All right, that's a very big difference between us. Now, he sees energy as being one of the biggest drivers over the next year or the next 2 years. He thinks energy will become the second biggest driver of earnings after the cars. And eventually he thinks that semi-truck will actually be a bigger driver than energy. But that's where I think the problem occurs, is because, yeah, he'd be right if we don't build any more factories, but we will. All right. Number 2, he doesn't see semi expanding beyond the 50,000 units that are planned for Reno. I certainly see more semis in the future. I think there will be a plant maybe it'll be in the Berlin facility. Maybe it'll be someplace else. I think we'll probably see one in China. We might see others, but certainly this is a dramatic, important product. As Lars said, he thinks it's it's his favorite product. So if it's good enough for Lars, it's good enough for me. So no, I see semi expanding beyond the 50,000 units. He also sees a very small number of semis rolling out in 2026. I think it's going to be, much larger than his number. So that would also give us a bigger number in 2026. He thinks it will take robotaxi at least a year longer to get to 1 million fleet than Elon does. So Elon thinks we'll have 1 million in the fleet by the end of next year. He sees it by the end of 2027. So that's only a year difference between the two. But there's a big reason. That's a huge reason for the difference between us. Number 4, he has way fewer revenue miles per day than anyone I've seen. He's talking like 120 revenue miles per day on average. I think that is super low. I think we're talking about way more like 240, 250 revenue miles per day, probably 400 total miles per day, and 240 revenue miles per day. He doesn't expect any meaningful revenue from Optimus until 2028. And I think that's complete nonsense. I think we will see revenue from Optimus in 2026 for sure. Substantial revenue, maybe even meaningful revenue. But for 2027, yeah, there's going to be a lot of revenue from Optimus. In fact, I think it might be the biggest driver of revenue and profits in 2027, already eclipsing robotaxi. And he doesn't see robotaxi eclipsing cars until like 2020, I guess after 2028. He sees cars continuing to be a big deal. And of course, if you watch the video this morning, the very first thing this morning, in that video, we talk about the fact that cars for sale to consumers is going to end by 2028, at least in the world of Tesla. He doesn't expect any meaningful, he just said that he does not include any, let me say it again. Number 6, he has not included massive margin improvements to his model because of Optimus in the factory and semi hauling raw materials and finished products for Tesla. So we're going to make a lot of Opti, a few hundred this year, maybe more, maybe 1,000. But next year, we're going to make 20, 30, 40,000 next year. And 10,000 of those are going to go in the factories. That's going to save Tesla to my numbers, the way I figure it, it's going to save Tesla about $500 million a year in the cost of goods. Then we're going to start putting Tesla. I'm 100% sure they're going to flip the switch on all of the common carriers, and Tesla's going to carry their own stuff on their own trucks. They're going to pick up the raw materials and they're going to deliver the finished goods on their own trucks. And that is going to dramatically cut the cost of freight. I'm running out of words here. Anyway, so yeah, that's he doesn't have anything there for that. I think we're talking about billions per year, more than $1 billion per year in cost savings, and maybe $1 billion per quarter in savings. That is not accounted for at all. There's not even a nod to it. All right, where's AJ and I completely aligned? Number one, he adds his name to a very long list of analysts, including Elon Musk and Cathie Wood, who have set the cost per mile of Cybercab at around 25 cents. I think this can be counted now as law. It's no longer theory, it's law. I mean, dozens of people have done this analysis. He does it in great detail. If you want to go back and watch the video, he goes through it line by line by line, as Cathie has done, as others have done, as I have done. You've probably seen my videos where I've gone through it line by line. I come up with 25 cents. Now, Elon said the other day that on Model Ys, Model 3s, it's probably going to be closer to 50 cents. That's probably fair because you have higher, everything about those cars is going to be more expensive. So 50 cents a mile might be okay. He says that he believes Cybercab will cost under 25,000. I'm sorry, I got that completely wrong. It will cost, I just wrote it down wrong. He believes Cybercab will cost under $18,000 to produce when it's at volume. I think that's right. In fact, I think it'll be under 16,000, but who's counting? A couple thousand among friends is okay. He believes that the stripped down Model Y will be a solid addition to the line. So unlike others, he doesn't think it needs to be a new variation. It doesn't have to be a hatchback. It doesn't have to be shorter. All those things doesn't need it. A stripped down model, he believes that's what it is. Now we have a lot of evidence that that is true and that the stripped down model will do just fine. It will be a meaningful contributor to overall sales and profits this year as well. He says it'll be very minor this year and then much more next year. I think he's counting on about 40 to 45,000 vehicles this year from all three factories. I think if we get them out of all three factories, I think that'll be light. And then he's got, his numbers for next year, not bad. I think pretty close on that one. Okay, number 4, while his ramp is slower than mine, he does think that semi will be a huge contributor to revenues and profits in 2027. I think it will be a huge contributor in 2026. He sees rather flat sales and profits for the next 4 quarters with a massive increase starting in the second quarter next year. They'll really start popping in Q2 next year. That would be pretty much aligned with me. I see the third quarter being better than he does. I see the fourth quarter being maybe a little bit less than he does. And after that, we might be fairly close, except I think semi will start to ramp. I think Cybercabs will start to ramp. As maybe energy will be bigger than he thinks it's going to be. So I think we'll do better in the first quarter, but not a ton. I think he and I are pretty well aligned over the next 4 quarters, and the fact that the second half of next year goes like this. I know you like my sound effects. He believes that the learnings, number 7, he believes that the learnings from the Cybertruck design and production are huge for the future of Tesla. What we learned about 48-volt, what we learned about steer-by-wire, etc., very, very helpful. But he also thinks that the Cybertruck's costs are way higher than they expected them to be, and that they haven't been able to solve that, at least not yet. I am 100% in line with him. How long have I been saying that? Oh, about 6 months. I think I've been saying there's 2 things. Number 1, that the costs are just way too high and they can't figure it out. Number 2 is that maybe there were problems with the truck that they needed to really iron out, and they just weren't confident enough to really go after the numbers yet. So those are the 2. The second one, I mean, I didn't know, I don't know anything about either one of those, but those are the only 2 things that made sense to me. As a manufacturer, those are the things that would have kept me from taking advantage of 2 million pre-orders. Number 8, he believes that there will be other autonomous products from Tesla soon, and I agree with him because Elon said there will be. And will it be drones? Will it be bicycles? Will it be, I don't know what it's going to, will it be some kind of a product for warehouses? I believe it's most likely to be products that will be used in warehouses, but maybe it'll be something very, very different. Maybe it will be a there's an awful lot of things in the manufacturing facility that don't use a humanoid. They could use something else. There's things in warehouses that don't need a humanoid. They could use something less expensive. There are all kinds of things that could be used in nursing homes, et cetera, in retail. So many things. Anything that moves, according to everybody that I listen to, if it moves, it's going to be autonomous. Okay. It's going to have AI if it moves. So look around you. Anything that you see that's around you will eventually have autonomy. Okay. But I want to say it again. I'm giving a huge hat tip to AJ. I follow him. I'm a subscriber to him on X, and you should be a subscriber to me on X, and you should be hitting my Patreon, and you should be YouTube as a member, or at least one of the three. I pay money to AJ every single month because of the work he does. I know the hard work that he puts into it. I know that many of us put massive amounts. I honestly tell you straight up that I asked my wife, I work 10, 11 hours a day, 7 days a week to bring you this content. All right. So huge hat tip for AJ for all the work that he does. Huge hat tip for him for what he did do, this over 3-hour video on his most recent analysis. He is definitely taking the role of a banker in this analysis, while I'm taking the role of something else. What am I? A wildly optimistic entrepreneurial fanboy. I don't know. Whatever it is, that's my personality. When you listen to me on this channel, and I give you my analysis, I give you my projections, you have to take that part of my personality into consideration. Does that mean I'm not going to be right? No, I've been right at least as often as anybody else. I've hit some numbers that CNBC should have had me on the next day. When I got the $300 number right a couple of years ago, when it topped at 300, and I said the exact day that was going to happen and got it exactly right. When I earlier this year said that we would blast past 410, and we blasted past 410, but I didn't know we were going to go to 488. But I was the only person. Me and Brian Wong were the only ones predicting that. I could go down a whole list. When I told you that the 5% number on bonds was the top, it was the top. Sell. I said sell. When I said that oil had maxed out, I think it was at 75. I said sell. And oil has never been back to 75 cents. So I'm right a lot. But I'm an optimist, and my optimism does get in the way sometimes. So you have to take that into consideration when you analyze what I'm saying, because you should never take what I say as even close to the gospel, because I'm wrong a lot. I don't know. Let's see. All-time high by July. Anyway, but the same thing's true with AJ. Take into consideration he's a banker, and so he sees it from a banker's viewpoint. So he's really, really super conservative. But you cannot deny that the work he puts into it is absolutely awesome and valuable and useful to the community. All right, so this morning already, you've got 2 great shows to go back. If you haven't seen the morning show, in fact, if you haven't seen it twice, I'm recommending people watch that show twice. Okay, put it on 2X if you want, 2 or 3X. I mean, listen to it really fast, but I think that it's important to understand the detailed way that I got to what I got to. Is I looked at the comments. Some people are like, well, no, Randy, this is and I'm like, no, I showed you that. I showed you that path. Okay. The path is there. The path to no longer selling any cars to consumers by 2028 is there. You may not agree with my path, but I think it's hard to disagree with, because I think that people will be picking up. I think in 2027, if you own a Model Y or a Model 3, especially if you have FSD already, you're going to get phone calls, just like you maybe get phone calls from real estate agents now that want to buy your house, or they want to help you sell your house. You're going to get calls from people that want to buy your car, and they're going to be offering you enough money to make that interesting. And that's what I think is going to happen. And so they will also be buying the new cars and leasing the new cars. And Tesla will be putting them out as fast as they can into fleets. The question I don't have the answer to, let me be clear, the question I don't know, you don't know, Kathy doesn't know, Elon doesn't know. We really don't know how fast the uptake will be by consumers out there. What we think is as you lower the price, it will dramatically increase the TAM. That is true for almost everything in the world. However, we're also talking about a change in the way people do business, the way that they make a trip, the way that they decide to go downtown, the way that they decide whether to buy or sell or not buy a car. So it's going to require a fairly significant change in the way people see the world and the way that they see themselves and how they operate in that world. But I do believe it's going to be fast. I think it might be as fast as this. Okay. It took about 2 years for this to become a very, very big deal. So I think maybe 2 years would be right. Maybe I'll be off by a year. So that wouldn't be shocking. All right. So watch the program this morning. If you haven't already watched it, I'll put a card right there. Also, just about 3 hours ago, I put up a video where I gave you the the regular Monday morning show. It was very important. I'm not trying to hype my stuff. Sometimes my Monday night show is good. It's just good. It just tells you what to expect for the coming week. And I give you the news with regard to Tesla over the last 24 hours. And it's valuable and it's useful. No. Today's is particularly good. Go watch it. You'll find out why. I think you'll find it to be a special show, especially because there's so much happening next week and you need to be aware of it. And I just, of course, add my analysis to all those things, all those economic reports that are coming out, all those companies that are reporting, all the things that are happening with the Fed, all of that, I give my analysis on top. That's what I try to do. Okay. I think, is there anything else I need to tell you? So I'll put those 2 cards up. Tomorrow's a normal day. Yes. Larry Goldberg and then Brian White. All that's arranged for tomorrow. All that's set up. So yeah, I think I'm done. I think I've done as much damage as I can possibly do. It's been Randy Kirk. It's been great talking to you.